Good morning to you, my friends, wherever you may be in the world today. Alan Clements here from Maui, the occupied islands of Hawaii by the American government. Today, September 6th, 2021. A talk, a sharing on something that seems so simple, our presence, the quality of our presence, and what will it be? The choices that we make to inhabit mind and body, and the incessant demand upon mind and body to express, to think, to feel, to interrelate. Okay. Today is a very important day, certainly for me and the people of Burma. And I think for democracy-loving, freedom-loving people worldwide. The state councilor, the Nobel Peace Prize laureate in the country of Burma, Aung San Suu Kyi. Many of you know she has been incarcerated along with something close to 7,000 other civilian elected leaders in her country and activists. And she is going on trial today. A mock trial by the terrorist leader of Burma, the former general of the army named Min Aung Hlaing. And he's not alone. A cult of monsters. Okay. Point one. There's a blackout worldwide on this travesty, on this event. It's really, I would say, incomprehensible to look into the trajectory of this woman's rise to ethical and revolutionary recognition in her country as a leader, among many other leaders, of a revolution of the heart, of a revolution of human consciousness. To have spent so many years incarcerated, along with many of her friends and colleagues, imprisoned, tortured, disappeared. And here it is on September 6th, 2021. And she's being placed under prison terms by this man and his monster colleagues, when he himself has committed and committing crimes against humanity, ethnic cleansing, genocide, torture, assassination. It's that we live in a world where this level of moral corruption is present. It's a part of me that so easily curses the darkness about this. And I'm trying here in this sharing in my own life, what is the real issue? And I go right down inside and trying to come into the talk about our presence, is how do you, what's possible to change the consciousness, the subconsciousness, the shadow, the darkness of a mind, to change it from its current behaviors and predilections and conditioned responses and reactions, where the result of those actions lead to a Hitler-like genocide and extermination of 20 million people just some decades back, to Rwanda, to Pol Pot in Cambodia, to Boko Haram, to the Taliban, to the satanic evil that we see around the world. Every country is complicit with this evil. And I know it's a philosophical question that goes back from time immemorial to perhaps the future of an unbridled tomorrow. I've never felt more desirous to want to understand and to become more active in how to enter the consciousness of the other, that's the adversary, the enemy, the monster, the terrorist, and engage that evil, engage that ignorance, if it's even possible to engage that evil, to engage that ignorance, and transform it from its predilection to violate into an entity, an organism of love and kindness and compassion. You could argue till who knows what, that in order for one must embody the change they seek or whatever. But at this point in time, as we have missile attacks, drone attacks, targeted assassinations, there's got to be a psychic, sonic, psychedelic, some form, some analogy, some metaphor, some substance, some therapeutic, some sonic missile that could be directed internally, externally, simultaneously through whatever means necessary to enter the psyche, the dark, repressed psyche of a Ming Online, of a Taliban leader, of almost anyone that we find reprehensible on a moral level, and transform that subconscious, that consciousness, that stream of events, and transform it from evil to goodness. I mean, if only they would invite us into their domains, their habitats, where we could, deliver awesome doses of a psychedelic in a controlled environment and do a clockwork orange on their head. There's got to be terrorist activities that are possible with the use of consciousness, with meditation, with yoga, with the psychedelic, with technology, with artificial organic intelligence that is able to develop and to implement and deliver mind bombs that truly, I dare even use the word Hiroshima, the psyche of the evil other. We've got to learn ways to take the concept of a nuclear strike into a consciousness strike. I mean, if those men and women in the world who have abinya, psychic power, higher knowledge, that can move mountains, that can fly through the air, duplicate their bodies, whatever the dimensions of their powers be, meet other with creative, intelligent means to implement intelligent mind bombs that obliterate delusion, evil, terror, the monster in the mind of Ming Online. And he's parading Aung San Suu Kyi virtually unnoticed in the world. And there's something so unthinkably outrageous about that it's happening, and that the world is blind to it. We're blind to so many things. But there are so many activists in Burma and around the world who are aware of what I'm saying. Where is that creative impulsion of the heart to co-join Dhamma, psychic power, enlightened energy, the 5 spiritual powers, the 7 factors of enlightenment, the 4 noble truths, the power of aditant, intention, determination, the convictions of Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha with the psychedelic and with the power of a missile, and goes right into the consciousness of evil, Ming Online, right now, and goes, wow. And he gets on national television and he says, I have committed an epic sin. And I released Aung San Suu Kyi, I released the people of this country. I retire, do what you must do to resolve the dilemma of me, but I seek complete dismantling of this terrorist organization. It's got to be a way for that to be realized. It's got to be a way for that to be understood. And I know this sounds phantasmagorical, but in my artistry, in my theater, in my Dhamma, in my meditation, in my yoga, stretching the imagination to begin to feel. I mean, great music obviously came out of the mind of people who wanted to create great music. It may not be felt as I want to create great music, but they listened to something so deep and society changed as a result. Buddhas are born out of life. We must understand, I feel at this point, put on the table, how can we transform the mind of other? It's not enough to suggest that we must transform our own mind alone, but how can we creatively, actively surround, like an aberrant child that's done wrong, Ming Online in Burma, and say it's unacceptable, but guess what? You must breathe this transformational Dhammic psychedelic medicine, and you must sit in the convulsion of transformation. I've seen people in meditation in convulsion of confronting their greed, their fear, their entitlement. And I don't know where I'm going with this, but I so want to overcome this. Let's just stop working on all the little traumas and ruptures and stresses and anxieties and focus on the big kahunas, the big hits. It's the leaders, it's the dictators, it's the Taliban, it's the Masak of Myanmar. And, just bear with me here in this process. I'm just exploring. We have this prominent Buddhist monk. I've spoken about him. I've met him. I've interviewed him. He's in my book that I co-authored with my colleague Fergus Harlow called Burma's Voices of Freedom, Sitagu Sayadaw. And he is currently, as I've read, in Russia, in Moscow, upon the invitation of Ming Online's vice general of the Masak terrorist group in Burma, the vice general So Win, I think his name is. And So Win and the entourage of other terrorist leaders from Myanmar have flown to Moscow with this arguably the most prominent Buddhist monk, the most publicly prominent Buddhist monk among nearly 500,000 Sangha members in Myanmar. He's flown to Moscow with Ming Online, right-hand man. And there's something so obviously disgraceful about that. I think the word disgrace, if there was a way to ignite in consciousness a sense of self-disgrace, the triggering of redemptive shame. I know people actively use ayahuasca, DMT, MEO, changa, obviously psilocybin, and the lysergic molecule, a variety of psychedelics with the purpose of redemptive psychological existential convulsion. Maybe not convulsion, but getting down in deep to the unrecognized subconscious beneath the ocean ruptures of historic struggles, anxieties, deceptions, betrayals, call them just collectively forms of trauma. And trauma exists, but in Buddhist culture, existence is innately traumatic. And there is no origin to the innateness of trauma. It's happened from time immemorial, and in a heartbeat, no matter how healed we are, there's a lightning bolt of uncertainty that arises, and the next thing you know, there is no more money in your bank account because there was an unrecognized authoritarian plan to socially reduce you to nothing because you're an activist, you're outspoken, you're part of the Hawaiian sovereignty movement, and they don't want that. Okay, and next thing you know, where there has been peace and calm and affluence, the human psyche is ruptured. I bring this up because there's a type of alchemy of imagination and organic substances and cognitive transformational practices that we've known primarily out of the East, but not solely out of the Indian subcontinent or South Asia, Hawaii, the Native Americans, all throughout the countries of the world. This indigenous organic wisdom of transformational, purposeful convulsion so that you become disgraced by your shortcomings, by your monster, by your denied evil. And that dialogue, that salon, if you will, I would like to get together. Frankly, I'd come out of my little isolation and do a little bit of some kind of dosing this and that in an elegant environment and explore on even live stream worldwide, freely on Zoom, whatever, the exploration of a mind experiment to try to configure, if you will, how to create disgrace in the mind of evil. So that we actively, for me, employ the most precious quality of religion and philosophy and spirituality, which is redemption. There's no way that any of us in the world within our right mind cannot imagine that the very people, person, or behavior that we criticize, judge, or want to annihilate, that in one little psycho flip of existence through karma or God or the absence of God, we are the very evil that we condemn. I mean, it's just so obvious that we could be anything, and we probably are based upon the unrecognized conditions in who knows what. I've seen so many really amazing people come into a meditation center in Asia from the affluence of New York or LA, and they've just been, they're super hip and down with their yoga, their meditation. They come into Burma, and it's a 20-hour-a-day meditative commitment. And it's 1 hour of sitting, 1 hour of walking, 2 meals a day, 4 hours of sleep. And they lose it. Like, oh my God, it's like everything is wrong with the outside world. And these peaceful, loving, often teachers are the most idiotic, shallow, judgmental kind of morons that you could imagine. You go, Jesus Christ, man, you're just in a meditation center where there's no transactions. Food is being given to you. Teachings are free. Food is free. And you're bitching and complaining about the dogs or the mosquitoes or the teachings aren't clear enough. And why didn't you learn English? Why are you only learning? There's always reasons why it's not right. And my point is that redemption, to me, is the heart essence of the only valuable psychic concept, if you will, that makes Dharma real. I can't imagine someone being condemned to perpetuity to the psychology that I see in them without the possibility of who knows when and how of redemption. And so activism to me at this point is, which is coming back to Aung San Suu Kyi, one of the things I learned from her and introduced by our shared teacher, the late Venerable Sayadaw U Pandita, is the power of redemption. And the power of redemption, and from redemptive energy, the beauty of attempting reconciliation, trying to cross the divide of divisiveness, of right and wrong, in that Rumi-esque field in the middle somewhere, where we find a harmony that exceeds our own individual needs. But we don't deny our needs sufficiently enough to live in a kind of deprivation. We discuss it, we talk about it. We deal with informed mutual consent, the power of the United Nations in theory. And here there's a part of me that wants to do a Netanyahu, a kind of a targeted assassination, if you will, with evil. I mean, my blood just freezes when I think of the girls that have left behind in Afghanistan by that feckless Joseph Biden and that ridiculous regime of his, leaving those girls behind to be raped by those satanic Taliban men, to kind of semenize this Shia Islamic fundamentalists in their being. It's so diabolical. So you just want to kill the fuckers. But where does that lead? You're right, they're dead, or you're dead in the process. And we've got Siddhartha Sayadaw, the upholder of Dhamma genius in Burma, accompanying the evil terrorist of Myanmar, the Vice General So Win, to Moscow to meet with, it's not really clear why, but he broke the monastic code to leave during the rains retreat. You're supposed to stay put. So he breached his Vinaya to go with a satanic monster, abandoning his faith in Dhamma and Vinaya and Sangha as a leader, and accompanying a terrorist to Moscow. And it can't be for any good reason other than to acquire poisons and toxins and weapons to further terrorize their own people. And it's something, bear with me, there's something so fucked about that. And I don't know about you, but I am so fucking don't care what anyone thinks of me anymore. I gave up that decades ago and given it up by the second. We've got to really get down as kind of sonic, existential, rad, eroticized, psychedelicized, uber, super sonic activists and learn new dimensions of activism that become redemption and self-disgrace merged. There should be a moratorium on all the plant medicine shit for all the already enlightened people out there, and every bit of global energy should be focused on the men, primarily the men, not just the men, there's probably women there as well, no doubt, who are committing these crimes against global existence, both humans, both non-humans, and nature. We're in an apocalypse. And we're fucking around in the house talking about, like, you know, what asana should I do in my next yoga class? I mean, obviously, do what you need to do to stay healthy. But for God's sake, if activism means anything today, fuck marching. Let's look at targeted drone missile attacks to the minds of evil through psychedelic, through psychic phenomena, through, you know, the whole UFO phenomena right now is like, let's create identifiable flying psychic objects that create disgrace bombs in the mind and the psyche of evil men. I know it sounds like, what are you? I mean, you lost it. Were you stoned last night? You doing a little bit of acid last night? I know Burning Man's coming to an end. You watched a little bit of it last night. You had a little bit of champagne. No. This is like a willingness to invite you, to invite me, to invite those places of needing to be conforming to ideas of acceptance and social grace and not to rock the boat too much with incorrectness. And the next thing you know, it's like you're already more alone than you already are, and you'd be the only one at your funeral if you continue to be so authentic. Well, you run the risk of fucking being successful and a complete poser on the other extreme. But what is really existential rebellion today with targeted, hear me out, I'm not physically talking about assassination, but the assassination of evil. Sirigu Sayadaw, I was reading with my friend Joe on his incredible podcast, Insight Myanmar. Sign up, look for it, sign up. He interviews the finest people around the world and in Burma, a dedicated activist on behalf of freedom and democracy and Dhamma in Burma and around the world. And you go like, Sirigu Sayadaw, man. It's like, well, he shouldn't mix politics with Dhamma. I'm going like, what in the fuck kind of lame argument is that? Politics somehow are separate from the quality of oxygen that we breathe and the quality of food that we eat and the quality of water that we wash with and drink. How do you separate human behavior from human behavior and call it spiritual and political? As far as I can see, stating the obvious, oxygen is oxygen, whether you're political, spiritual, philosophical, or atheist, Chinese, American, Russian, whatever. And freedom is freedom. And your freedom and my freedom are trans-spiritual, trans-political, and every human being in the uniform that they hide in or disguise in or wear proudly is innately spiritual and political, Mr. Sirigu Sayadaw. It is your responsibility to overcome apartheid. You are accompanying a bona fide global criminal terrorist to Russia to acquire armaments to rain hell down on your own people in the name of the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. There is something so fucked about that. And I would say that right to your face, Mr. Sirigu Sayadaw. I don't know what your plan is to sneak some acid into So Win's mouth or to Putin's mouth or to do some ketamine together and try to find your own basic denied traumas together, or that you're basically, you know, no offense, but you're just obviously needing to co-associate with evil because it's some type of eroticized, denied sexuality. I'm not saying that you're going to have some kind of sexual act, but who knows what goes down in your sordid mind that you associate with evil like that, and you call it cool, and abandon your people at a time of need. I mean, the commentary and the testimonies and the articles about this don't even come close to me, to the outrage of how you have innately disgraced yourself, sir. You haven't disgraced the sasana because you're an individual. I was there as a monk for a short period of time, And I know a lot of the leaders. I know a lot of the elder monks and nuns. I've known many of the teachers. You know that as well as I do. And monks are not representative of all monks. No nun is a representative of all nuns. We're individuals, but there's a code of ethics, a code of discipline. And you are violating that code of ethical discipline. You are an embarrassment to the sasana, past and forward. And if you had a high dose of you name it for your preference, and the Buddha was there as your sitter, sitting with you on a high dose of MDMA or ayahuasca or DMT or honesty or meditation, and was asking you, Mr. Sitagusedo, why are you accompanying an evil general who is committing crimes against humanity, against your own people? Why are you going to Russia with him to get arms and calling that cool? You talk to the Buddha and you justify your disgrace. But that's not enough. That's not even really good theater. Yes, there'll be movies made about this. Everyone knows the story of Angulimala, the historic figure with an ancient Theravadan tradition in which Angulimala was on a terrorist monster, evildoer's mission, very much like So Win and Ming Online and so many other people around the world in positions of terrible abuse and violence and power. And Angulimala had collected apparently like 999 fingers around a mala because he was a serial killer and just thrived on the bloodlust like Ming Online does today in Burma, like the Taliban in Afghanistan. The oppression around the world of men and some women who love the bloodlust of sexual violence to children, trafficking, torture. Ugh. Wouldn't you like women to rise up in unity along with us men and put high doses, not of ivermectin, fuck that, man, high doses of the most pure psychedelic in the nostril, the mind, the food, the water? Why is this so outrageous? This is going to be part of my film coming up, Raw War. It's a mandala that's going to be so dark, so raw, so naked, so sexualized, so tortured, and so luminous. I'm not going to spare anything that I could imagine in creating a gestalt. And I wish I could give away free LSD or DMT to any theater goer, wherever you are in the world. Open your mind, and it's basically DMT cinematically with sound and music and visually. Can we create that to obliterate the evil in a mind in Burma who is persecuting and torturing my friend and the people of my country, Burma, at this very moment? It's unacceptable. Again, if I were the Israeli back in the day when Netanyahu was the prime minister, I would take you out. Mr. Biden, take him out. Putin, take So Win out. Are you advocating assassination? No. I'm saying use the power of everything you've got in your mind and body to disgrace them on their own terms, so they writhe and convulse like a young boy or a young girl in any of these ayahuasca circles that you hear about and see, that you participate in. And they come in close to the invenerating conditions of past stresses and anxieties and betrayals. How many times, if we could look right now at Angulimala or President Biden or Ming Online or So Win or Sitagusedo, looking back lifetime after lifetime, even back in their childhood, and look at all the wrongs that happened to them, for them to develop into these weird convulsions of narcissistic, entangled knots that lead and bleed with horror upon others. Where does one get to be that way? Conditions upon condition, that's all, right? We must find on an evolutional pulse. I say this over, I want to create music and dance and theater together, and I don't know how you can separate meditation, the psychic, the UFO as transformational sensitivity, and the psychedelic all merge together. We need to create targeted psychic assassinations to the evil gene in the mind of others. It's not enough just to keep working on our own edge. How much more mindfulness do I fucking need after 50 years of me being mindful, of me walking to the kitchen, to walk to the bathroom, to go down to the beach, to walk and to breathe and to hear? How many more times do I have to do warrior pose, perfectly empowered, so that I feel perfectly empowered in an incredibly evil world? There's not going to be a future. It's a joke that I continue to live in peace and sanctity and worry about my food today, when in fact there's no future for the children. We need to learn psychic war. It's a battle, right? We're in a spiritual battle never before seen or known. And I'm going like, okay, got it. The new shaman today is a wild woman who says no to the evil in the man or in the woman or into whatever it is that you're pointing to. And you have the trickster enough in you to go, open your mouth, Mr. Dude, Ming Online, Sirigusero, Anguli Mala, that's always out there. Open your mind and go, melt down, melt down, melt down, melt down. What a moment on planet Earth it would be with the redemption in Moscow, live on CNN, with an implanted reporter. And we're seeing Ming Online flying in, and So Win, and Putin, and Sirigusero, and this consortium of cult, fetish, child trafficking, evil-doing, weaponized men. And they're going like, oh my God, they're doing the DMT, ER, 5-MeO, trauma therapy blitz. Wow, man. Like everyone at Davos is being tied down in these chairs, and every one of them are giving very nice doses of ketamine, and they can't move. And all of a sudden they have artificial intelligent helmets all around their head and their eyes, and they're seeing things in 3D and 4D that they think are external, but they're actually internal to their own mind. And all of a sudden they're doing a Clockwork Orange excavation of their evil, and they have another high dose of acid, another dose of the DMT, another dose of ayahuasca, and there are women and men who are gently caressing their bodies because they've been so deprived of the feminine and the sensitivity of intimacy. It's probably a denial of sexuality in all of these fucking evildoers. How easy it would be to create a film and a song and a Broadway piece and a pellet called an assassination pellet of evil. Not a bullet. Don't mistake what I'm saying. I'm not talking about killing people. I'm saying about killing evil. And Angulimala comes to take out the Buddha. And the Buddha says to him, no, I can't be involved with you. I know you want to kill me, but I can't be involved with you because I'm a monk and I don't get involved in politics. Nah. No, you can kill other people, but I live according to the Vinaya, and monks and nuns should not engage in politics. And I'm not even going to say anything about your murder of the villagers that you've been, just persecuting and terrorizing. Imagine how embarrassing that would be if we had a sutta where the Buddha is absconding from the role of transformational annihilation of evil and nurturing the redemptive gene in Angulimala. Remember, this is the epic discourse on redemption. Angulimala is a fucking bona fide Ming online. He's a Pol Pot, he's a Hitler in his own respective tragic way. And the Buddha's, nah, I'm not going to be bothered with him because it's just I'm crossing the line between religion and politics. I don't condone it, but I'm going to fly with your brother to some foreign city and buy more weapons so that you can kill the people more effectively. Bullshit, man. Siddhartha Sayadaw and all the people who are kind of running dogs for his idiocy, it is fully Dhamma to tell So Win and Ming Online, hey man, stop. Just like the Buddha was said to have said in this particular discourse to Angulimala. Angulimala is yelling at the Buddha, stop, I'm going to kill you, dude. And the Buddha turns around and says, hey man, politics and religion are inseparable. We breathe the same dude, the same air. Who are you talking to, man? You're in denial of your intimacy. You're in denial of your goodness. You're shameful. You're a disgrace to the country, the continent, to the planet, to the cosmos. You're utterly disposable. But guess what? Open your mouth. Put this little thing on your tongue, swallow it, inhale it, meditate in the psychic environment of transformational redemption. Artificial intelligence meets psychedelic, meets woman, meets innovative, creative Broadway. What's the next dimension of musicality? All artists, all theater goers, all cinematographers, all poets, all writers, all novelists, all artists worldwide should unite together in developing an evil bullet that combines the highest, most potent transformational potential in a psychedelic with psychic release, like a time release compassion capsule, a self-release, self-humiliation, self-accountability intelligence. Artificial intelligence, if it can be created artificially, we can create it organically, collectively, and put it into a capsule and create the most refined molecule of, oh my God, let's call it the redemption molecule. And to me, that is the edge of activism in art right now in the psychedelic movement. We need to figure out how to create that redemption molecule and get it as quickly as possible into the minds of the most abject, out of control evildoers. I don't want any more empathy to feel the life and the horror of the woman being raped right now as my daughter in Kabul. I want to figure out how to deal with the guy raping her in such a way that gets the monster off her and puts something in his mind that rids the planet of that compulsion to violate the woman, violate nature, violate the future of life. We talk about a spiritual war, a spiritual battle. I say rise up, sisters. I say rise up, brothers. I say rise up into the fidelity of your wild, revolutionary, uber-sexualized, reverential, sapio, transformational genius, and use everything imaginable now to reel ourselves in just from our own ordinary needs for health and happiness and get over our predicament alone and get empowered, not just in our own being, but in the power of dealing specifically with the evildoers. Fuck the New York Times, the CNN, and the BBCs. Create our own media networks. Create the highest quality content in the world that obliterates evil. And there's 11 songs on your CD. One of them is, the annihilation of the evil. The other is going to be high radiant dance. Excite someone from their predicament through, I know the first time I saw Hendrix play on acid, I went, oh my God. I started to move my body, although I was very talented, I could dance well, I was a really great athlete. I never moved my body like that before. There's something so cool about releasing into the improvisational naturalness of my own organic intelligence on a psychedelic experience that obliterated my fear of conformity. And I said, oh my God, I'm just being me, free. I'm just being me in freedom. I'm just being me in freedom. A second cut on the song. Just being me in freedom. How do we get to these men? How do we get to these women? How do we cross the boundaries of nation, protocol, timing, firewalls? How do we get to Xi Jinping in China? How do we get to put acid in his green tea, along with the most succulent dream of the most beautiful spiritualized woman called his denied feminine? Oh, Mr. Cliche. No, these are just words. Yes, 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 yes. But they represent energy bodies. We are psychic phenomena in the making if we so choose to develop asanas and meditation practices that mature our psychic intuitive intelligences. Right now, the playing field on a physical level requires flying and passports and vaccinations. We need to travel through time and space and the psychedelic portal, the erotic portal, the spiritual portal. We must become activists on that level of the sublime. So enough screaming today, enough playing. From my heart to yours, I hope there's something in this that's valuable for you. And for me, it's just playing in the imaginative, wild paradox of good and evil. But you know, I call out all of you sisters, I call out all of you brothers, let's take our activism off the street and put it onto the global street and put it into the mind of Xi Jinping, Ming Online, Sitagu Sayadaw, Joseph Biden, Taliban leaders. Let's name them. Let's have their addresses. Let's have their emails. Let's have their Twitter accounts. And let's focus the entirety of global awakening, activism, psychedelics, the global shamanistic. Flood the psyche of evil with light and redemption. And just as the Buddha did to Angulimala, he said, dude, politics and spirituality are inseparable. You got the wrong dude. I'm not going to protect you from yourself. Here's the disgrace and the humiliation pill. And ayahuasca is born through the psychic phenomena, and Angulimala melts down. The Judas in all of us melts down. The Ming Online in all of us melts down. We're at that edge right now where we need to climb the final 10 meters to the peak of the mountain of hope and actualize the radiance of hope with something called the DNA of redemption. So from my heart to yours, let's co-create the art, the music, the sound of this redemption missile and assassinate the mind of evil non-violently through something as natural as the oxygen of redemption. There's got to be a religion that we can implant globally to create that level of peace and hope on the planet. So from my hope to yours, have a great day. Thank you for being in my life. God willing, see you tomorrow here from Maui.